This £10,000 four suspension electric bike is as advanced as mountain bikes get. It can even change gear for you. But just how much better is it than this £1,000 electric hardtail? Or will a bike somewhere between these extremes beat the Goldilocks choice, the best of both worlds? Stick around to find out as I put this Decathlon E-ST100, a £399 Canyon Grand Canyon on, a £5,250 specialised Levo SL alloy, and this Propain Ekano to the test. Let's start off with one of the cheapest mainstream electric bikes you can buy, Decathlon's E-ST100. It costs £999 and it's not available in the US, but that's around $1,300. It's certainly got some fairly hefty weight to it at 22.2 kilograms. For your £1,000, you get a hardtail mountain bike with assistance provided by a frame-mounted battery and an electric motor in the rear hub. These have a capacity of 380 watt-hours and 250 watts of assistance respectively. That hub motor also chucks out 42 Nm of torque. That isn't a bodge job either. It's a dedicated electric bike, so you get a warranty and manufacturer and dealer support to go with it. It's not as basic as you'd think either, with 3 assistance modes and an LCD control screen displaying an array of stats. There's a 100mm travel suspension fork with a quick release axle, an 8-speed drivetrain with a pretty narrow range cassette and mechanical disc brakes. But the wheels are tubeless ready, even if the tyres themselves are not. Oh, and the wheels are still the smaller 27.5-inch variety at both ends. Geometry-wise, it has some. All I'll say is it's been a while since I've ridden a bike where the seat tube length is longer than the reach measurement. But with all that said, let's take this little ripper for a spin and see how it gets on. Here we go on the Decathlon E-ST in the most powerful mode, because anything below that feels pretty pointless. Oh, I apologise for the bow. But yeah, in the lowest power mode, doesn't exactly feel sprightly. 2 is better, but you definitely notice that extra power in the most powerful 3 mode. I mean, on stuff like this sort of fire road, feels alright actually. Already felt a bit of a top out from the fork, which is disconcerting for what's to come, but it's not too bad. Very bouncy, no damping, quite top outy as well, so when the suspension extends, you just get like this metal on metal clang into the red trail, Twisted Sister. And one thing I am going to do, just to drop this saddle right down out of the way. Get clipped in, and wish me luck, because these brakes do not feel particularly brilliant, and they're not. The brakes are not good, tyres even worse. Very little in the way of actual grip. Going to avoid all of that there. Whoops, excuse my language. I've survived so far, and I haven't lost the chain, which is a minor miracle. So the Decathlon survived just about. It wasn't as bad as I was expecting it to be. The brakes are massively underpowered, the tyres are terrible, the geometry is absolutely awful, but I did make it down there. On the flatter terrain and on the climb, it was fine. So I think for general sort of bombing about on fire road use, it'd be perfect. You know, it's a solid little bike, but for a red graded single track trail, yeah, no, we'll give it a hard pass on that. Right then, time for a little upgrade, I think. It's Canyon's Grand Canyon on, and while it's still a hardtail, you are getting a huge improvement in the motor and battery department. It has Bosch's range-topping Performance Line CX motor and a whopping 750 watt-hour battery, the biggest of any of the bikes here. However, that enormous battery means it's also the heaviest of them all, at a not inconsiderable 24.3 kilograms. When this bike should shine is on longer but less technical rides. The huge battery should give loads of range, while the big 29-inch wheels and chunky but modestly treaded knobby knit tyres in theory mean more grip, control and rolling speed, as well as improved comfort. The fork is RockShox's basic Judy silver, but it at least has an air spring rather than coil, and you get adjustable damping for its 120mm of travel. Brakes are hydraulic this time in the form of SRAM's DB8, and Shimano's massively underrated Dior 12-speed drivetrain also features. It's all solid, if not exactly spectacular kit. What doesn't feature though is a dropper post, which I'd expect on a bike like this, so I'm keen to see how it rides on the trail.
Okay, so heading out on the Grand Canyon on the climb, straight away you can just tell that the motor is so much better. It's still quite noisy, but the speed and efficiency difference is just crazy. I mean, I've got this in turbo mode at the moment. It is absolutely flying. There we go. Got so much more power and torque, and the whole bike just feels like more refined. Like, it's just so much smoother. The tyres are chunkier, they're bigger 29ers as well. The gears are better and smoother, the fork is smoother. I mean, don't get me wrong, like, it's not a full suspension bike, but it's a wild improvement. Just a nice, comfortable place to be. Now we get into the interesting bit in a second, but first, I've got to do something that I really haven't done for a while, which is drop the post using a multi-tool. So yes, this is a red graded trail. Oh, the wider bars are nice straight away. I actually feel like I can hold the line better. Yeah, straight away this feels so much more planted and confident than the Decathlon. But yeah, so much more confident and planted feeling. So much nicer. Bump over that.
Bump over this. So that is the run done on the Canyon, and as expected for a bike that costs 3 times as much as the Decathlon, the step up in refinement is massive. No, none of the components are top end except for the motor and battery, which are incredibly impressive. I can see why the Bosch is one of the best motors around. The rest of the components are okay. The brakes are pretty solid. The fork is okay, if a little bit twangy, but I felt a lot more confident and secured going down. Now it's time for the really big step up, the full suspension eMTB. Yes, you can buy full suspension eMTBs that cost less than this £5,250 or $7,000 specialised turbo Levo SL. But it's a bike like this where you get the best bang for your buck. It's not an insignificant investment, but you get a lot more bike compared to the Decathlon. Yes, the frame is still aluminium and the battery is still mounted to the main frame, but the technology is on an entirely different level. The frame tubes are much more advanced in their manufacturing and shaping. It's a full suspension frame with a rear shock, and the geometry is also massively more advanced and features loads more adjustments, meaning you can dial in the handling of the bike to your preferences. To go along with that, there's a dropper post, 1x12 drivetrain, big, powerful 4-piston hydraulic brakes, a mixed wheel 29 and 27.5-inch mullet setup, and quality suspension from Fox. The bike's geometry is also a far cry from the Decathlon. This bike is long, low, and very slack, so it should handle far better on the trail. However, as this is one of the SL or lightweight eMTBs you can buy, the battery is actually smaller capacity than both of its cheaper rivals, with 320 watt-hours compared to 380 watt-hours for the Decathlon. Power from the motor is better though, with up to 320 watts of assistance and 50 Nm of torque. It comes in lighter than the Canyon and the Decathlon at 20.1 kilograms. So this is over 5 times the price of the E-ST and nearly twice as much as the Grand Canyon on. But how does it ride out on the trail?
So here we go then aboard the Specialized Turbo Levo S-Al alloy comp. So this is the lightweight eMTB, the lightest bike here, and even just like moving around up on the climb, you can definitely notice that lack of weight. It feels much more maneuverable and nimble, but what you can also feel because of that less powerful motor is it doesn't feel like it's got the kick, even in turbo, of the Bosch performance motor that you'll find on the Canyon. So like, don't get me wrong, it's going along here just fine, but if you've got mates on full fat bikes that use something like that Bosch Performance CX or Shimano EP8, you are not going to be keeping up with them on this thing. Definitely having to put more effort in compared to the Canyon. It's actually similar in terms of effort to what I was putting in on the Decathlon, which I suppose shouldn't come as a surprise because this has only got 10 Newton meters more torque, 80 watts more power. So it's not actually a massive difference despite it costing 5 times as much. What you are paying for though is the quality of everything else. So no, it's not the fastest on the climbs, but the flip side is that hopefully when we get to the descents, they should feel a little bit more agile and nimble than those other bikes. Oh yeah, dropper post, which is nice. I don't have to stop at the top of this. I can just roll straight in. And yeah, as you can see, already so much more confident on this bike compared to the others. I can attack the trail so much more, even though with the rain we had this morning, yeah, overall you can just really attack so much harder and go so much faster on a bike like this, especially on a trail where it's quite rooty and rough like this one is. I can hit all my lines.
Not just going to send it. Whew, that was a lot of fun. It was nowhere near as fast on the climb as the Canyon. This still has enough kick to get you up, but you are going to notice that you're putting in a bit more effort. Where this thing really pays dividends is when you point back down again. I was able to just slam the post out of the way with that dropper. The geometry is brilliant. I can feel in control. I can attack the trail. The suspension's really good. No, it's not the best, but for 99% of people, it's more than enough bike. It is very, very impressive. So if this is what £5,000 or dollars rides like, what does £10,000 or dollars ride like? Time to find out, I think. This absolutely wild looking Propain Ekano 2 CF Ultimate costs a whopping £9,999, or the same in dollars, and is one of just a few bikes available that uses SRAM's new Powertrain. SRAM is a huge player in bicycle drivetrains, but this is surprisingly its first e-bike motor and is designed to integrate with the brand's own wireless access transmissions. Using various sensors, this system will automatically work out what gear you need to be in at any given time and change it for you. There's no mess of cables up around the handlebar, just a super slick, clean look, and it's all controlled by the Access Pod controllers, which also control the wireless reverb access dropper post as well. It's almost sci-fi stuff, and to go with that, we have a pretty big 650 watt-hour battery and a motor that pumps out a massive 90 Newton meters of torque and 680 watts of resistance, the most of any of the bikes here. The frame is carbon fiber as well, but despite that, this is the second heaviest bike here at 23.7 kilograms. I've stepped it up big style here, but is the jump in performance worth the price?
So here we go then. On the most expensive, the bike with the most torque and the most assistance, if not the biggest battery, but this Propain Ekano CF2 Ultimate costs £10,000 or dollars with automatic shifting. It's got the wireless reverb access dropper post. I mean, just look at that cockpit. It's so clean in comparison to some other e-bikes where you just get a mess of cables and all sorts up front. It's so neat. This motor is exceptionally good. Probably say it's one of the quietest so far. You can really tell that extra level of torque. The bike's actually changing gears for me, which is wild. See, I didn't touch anything then. It just changed gear for me. It sensed that I was going a little bit quicker, and again. So it's changing gear for me as I'm riding along, and again. It's a shame this thing can't ride for me actually, because it's an awful lot more capable than I am. And I'm not going to spoil it, but this bike did quite well in our eMTB Bike of the Year awards. So make sure you're subscribed to the channel to check out that one. Is it worth 10 grand though? I'm not so sure. So here we go, dropping in, down with that wireless reverb dropper. Got that big burly Zeb fork up front. Got a super gravity, super soft compound Strawberry tyre up front, a downhill casing, super soft tyre out back. I'm not going to take the big line, but oh my word, this is just impressive. Take the cheaty line.
Very impressive. So there we go then. Propain's £10,000 or dollar Ekano 2 CF Ultimate. It's a massively, massively impressive piece of kit, but I don't know if it's worth twice as much as a Specialized, or indeed 10 times as much as the Decathlon. The automatic shifting is absolutely wild. It's mind-blowing, it really, really is, but is it necessary? I don't think it is. The motor is also really, really good. It is obviously a big step up from the Specialized unit, but ahead of the Bosch, it's pretty close to call actually in my limited time on both bikes. So now I've ridden all 4 bikes, time to sum up my thoughts. Now I've ridden all 4 bikes, what's my verdict? Well, if I could take any of these bikes home with me today, it would be the Specialized Levo SL. And if I was spending my own cash, bikes around this price would also be on my shopping list. Yes, the Propain is wildly good. It has all the bells and whistles and rides incredibly well, but it just isn't worth nearly twice as much as the Specialized in my opinion. I'm pretty confident, however, that the Specialized is 5 times as much bike as the Decathlon E-ST if you're serious about riding off-road. For punters looking to just get some steady miles in on fire roads or tarmac with a bit of a helping hand, the EST100 is a great value choice and will do that job just fine. If you want more of the same but a little more refinement, then the Canyon Grand Canyon On is a good place to start. It can tackle lower graded MTB trails competently, and with a dropper post fitted, it'd be even more capable. While we couldn't get one for this test, there are full suspension eMTBs available at a similar price. But to accommodate the full suspension frame, the motor and battery generally aren't as good as the Bosch Performance Line CX motor on the Canyon. Step up to £4,000 to £5,000 or dollars with bikes like the Levo SL, and you'll have everything you need to tackle pretty much anything. The motor, battery and components will be excellent, the performance will be top-notch, and while it might not be the bike of your dreams, it will be all the MTB you'll ever need. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you aren't already. And if you want to see how regular mountain bikes from different price points stack up, check this out.